I'm personally at the point that I'd rather have Bitcoin for services or deals than fiat. In Europe, there's a lot of businesses closed down by the US because alleged contacts with Iran or some person or whatever, and they just freeze your bank account or close your connection with the SWIFT. So it's you're done. Fairly big companies as well. So it's I guess a thing that's more people outside the US are more aware of than inside the US. I guess that doesn't happen too much in the US. And with Bitcoin, indeed, I guess the next level would be right now. It's an asset. It's an investment. You can trade it. You can make money. You can trade it, but really use it as payment for your services. That is something that is interesting to look at. That is also a form of hedging, because it makes you less dependent on the fiat world. If you could buy your food and fill your car, your gas with Bitcoin and get paid in Bitcoin, well, then the whole dollar doesn't matter that much anymore to you. If you could rent or buy your house in Bitcoin, whatever, the dollar is not important anymore. So that's the next phase, if you will, the next level of Bitcoin maturing. The whole case of El Salvador is a big step towards that. So I really hope there's more countries indeed following that lead, because that would always create some spots in the world where you can always trade your Bitcoin and buy a house with Bitcoin and buy food with Bitcoin, and then the entire concept of the dollar or fiat goes away. The need for that goes away. And maybe one more thing, by the way, the U.S. perspective versus the European perspective for futures markets and maybe also option markets, derivatives markets for Bitcoin could be different, because Americans are forbidden to, or it's illegal for Americans to, and correct me if I'm wrong, to trade on unbanked exchanges. So exchanges like BitMEX or Deribit, where you can only send Bitcoins there, trade whatever you want to trade, and then withdraw in Bitcoins. They don't have a fiat on and off ramp. And for Europeans, that's legal. So we do that all the time. We just send Bitcoins somewhere, trade some stuff, and get the result back in Bitcoin. And so that whole withdrawal thing, the risk that you cannot withdraw if you enter a futures contract. So when it's cash settled, for example, in the CME, right? I think the CFTC makes it compulsory to go through CME for Americans. I don't think there's any other big exchange at the moment that does futures and options that you can access. But for a lot of people outside the US, there is, and these exchanges flourish, and they don't have the risk of non-withdrawal because they're all Bitcoin based. There is no fiat, and so I think the risk could be the manipulation risk could be higher perceived by US citizens than non-US citizens.
Before we continue, help us clicking that YouTube like button and subscribe now to our channel. This shows the algorithm that you valued this information, and it helps us spread that message. Sharing is caring. And now, let's continue.
And I don't want to make it too geopolitical, but if the US makes it too wild in for example, and it doesn't do that, right? All the things I see are good things, especially in Florida and Texas and all the states that accept Bitcoin, and the debate that's going on in the Senate and Congress is in accepting and regulating and taxing Bitcoin, not banning Bitcoin. But if a state, especially America in this case, makes it does two strange things, in that you cannot withdraw any Bitcoins anymore, or a regulation or manipulation is too wild, people just move. you could hedge that risk by moving outside the US, by going to Europe and have access to the markets. Right now, the US markets are the biggest in the world, and companies go to the US, capital goes to the US, brains go to the US because the access to capital markets. But when they kill that, when they make it more advantage or better to use capital markets outside of the US, which would be a big mistake. But, well, countries have done that before in the past. Then the access to capital markets will be superior outside the US, and people, companies, brains, capital would move. And that is a theme that is very top of mind by a lot of Bitcoiners, at least, the nomad style of life, and especially in the current geopolitical setting. So I think there's a risk for the US as well.
Do you want to know one thing about crypto? I made over 3,000% in profit in a few weeks. Fact is, the traditional financial system, the traditional money system makes you poor, not rich. If you want to earn $500,000, $1 million, you have to wait until you're 50, 60, 70 in the traditional financial system, and you probably will still be broke. And you will be old. This is not a sexy combination, as you can imagine. But the question is, how can you start in crypto and make these profits? Where to invest? Where to start? My name is Gunnar and I'm from Germany, as you can hear, and things are a little bit different in Germany. More about that later on. Fact is, there are lots of different cryptocurrencies. It's a gigantic universe where beginners and professionals get easily lost. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. There are 7 key steps you need to follow to become successful in this market. You have to know them, and if you fail one of them, it's literally impossible to succeed in this market. Just an example, one of the key points is your exchange, and one of the biggest are, for example, Binance and Coinbase. These are trusted and well-established exchanges, but, and this is a big but, you won't find the super profitable coins on those exchanges. The unknown super profitable coins that get gigantic profits are not traded on those kind of exchanges. They are traded on much smaller insider platforms that are barely known. And I can tell you what those super secret exchanges are and why they are so profitable. And another super important thing are the right information sources. The point is, the internet is gigantic. There are hundreds and hundreds of YouTube channels, blogs, pages, and much more. And there are also market makers and influencers. For example, Elon Musk, he is not a crypto guy, but the moment he recommended Dogecoin, it went through the roof, to the moon, so to say. But why did he recommend it? Where did he hear it from? He didn't hear it from newspapers. And believe me, he is listening to someone. But you have to know who, and you have to react before he is reacting. This is really important. And these are only 2 of the 7 steps you have to follow in order to be successful in crypto. And if you want to know all of these steps in much more detail, and if you want to have a comprehensive checklist, here's what you should do. There is a link below this video. Click on this link and you will get the opportunity to subscribe to my channel. Click on the link and you will see a video where I explain the next steps. So see you soon. Click on the link now. I'll see you there.